From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
No Mubarak!
This is the Egyptian people. You have to follow them. What do they have to do more than this to prove that they want the change?
Go home, go home. Millions against Mubarak. As Egyptians pour into the streets throughout Egypt, Mubarak says he will stay until the election in September. As he addresses the Egyptians in Tahrir Square, they hold up their shoes in defiance. We'll go to Cairo for a report from senior producer Democracy Now! Sharif Abdel-Quddus, and we'll be joined by Professor Noam Chomsky to talk about what the uprising means for Egypt, the Middle East, Israel, and the United States as protests spread to Jordan, Yemen, and beyond. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Mass protests continue across Egypt following President Hosni Mubarak's refusal to immediately step down. The Egyptian army has called for the protests to end, but thousands remain in the streets. Violent clashes have broken out between pro-Mubarak and anti-government protesters in Tahrir Square in Cairo. Reuters reports at least 10 people have been injured so far. On Tuesday, Mubarak bowed to the week-long Egyptian uprising by announcing he'll leave office when his term ends in September. But that falls short of the protesters' chief demand he resign and even face trial. Speaking in a televised address, Mubarak vowed to oversee the transition to a new president.
My primary responsibility now is to return security and stability to the country, to produce a peaceful transition of power in an atmosphere that protects Egypt and Egyptians, leaving authority to whoever is chosen by the people in the next presidential elections. I say, in all honesty, regardless of present events, I do not intend on running for another presidential term.
But Mubarak's speech left many unanswered questions. He did not rule out a presidential run by his son, Gamal Mubarak, and it's not clear how the Egyptian constitution would be changed to allow for opposition groups to run viable campaigns. Mubarak spoke as millions of people took to the streets across Egypt Tuesday in the largest demonstrations against his government to date. Upwards of 2 million people were estimated to have packed Cairo's Tahrir Square. Hundreds of thousands also turned out in Alexandria, a number of other Egyptian cities. Protesters vowed to stay in the streets until Mubarak steps down.
Of course it will succeed. This is a revolution in making. You are now watching a revolution where it is making. It is something rare in history. For the first time in Egyptian history, from pharaohs till now, Egypt had a genuine revolution.
In an address following Hosni Mubarak's announcement, President Obama called for a transition to a new government, but he again refused to explicitly back demands for Mubarak's immediate departure.
Now, it is not the role of any other country to determine Egypt's leaders. Only the Egyptian people can do that. What is clear, and what I indicated tonight to President Mubarak, is my belief that an orderly transition must be meaningful, it must be peaceful, and it must begin now.
President Obama went on to praise the protest movement, calling it, quote, an inspiration to the world. But Obama made no mention of the U.S. government's critical support of Mubarak's regime over its entire 30 years. Newly released lobbying records show just how close the U.S. government has been to the Mubarak regime. According to the Sunlight Foundation, nearly 250 meetings between Egyptian officials and U.S. lawmakers and their aides took place in the first 7 months of 2010 alone. For years, Mubarak has employed a team of Washington-based lobbyists, including former Democratic Congressman Toby Moffett, former Republican Congressmember Bob Livingston, and Democrat Tony Podesta, whose brother John served as President Clinton's chief of staff. The United States also has close ties to Mubarak's new vice president, Omar Suleiman, Egypt's former intelligence chief. Suleiman played a key role in the U.S. Extraordinary Rendition Program. He also underwent training in the 1980s at the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare School and Center at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Suleiman has been placed in charge of reaching out to Egyptian opposition groups.